his opponent, fighting in the blue corner, weighing in at 134.5 pounds. He's wearing white trunks with an official record of 28 wins, 1 loss, 2 draws, 16 of those wins coming by way of knockout. From San Diego, California, Mercito Gesta! And once again, referee in charge of the action, Jerry Panku, with the final instructions.
2 seconds, let's go. 2 seconds. Not deep. Gentlemen, you have received your instructions from the good system. They might command at all times. Touch them up. Good luck to both of you.
There you see the back of that jacket says Team No Mercy. That is the father, Mercito Gesta, who is now training his son, Mercito. His dad, Doug, we've had a conversation with him before because the last time we saw Gesta, he was fighting Carlos Molina at the Fancy Springs Resort and Casino in Indio. That went 10 rounds, a tough one. It was a draw, but his dad, jiu-jitsu MMA fighter, still going in the Philippines. He had a fight about 2 years ago. He's like, I still train. I still want to get back into it. But right now it's about his son. His son is the southpaw, 28-1-2, 16 KOs, taking on Miguel Angel Mendoza, a tough veteran who is 21-6. He has 21 KOs, 21 wins, all of them via a knockout. But he's had a rough stretch. His last fight was against Robert Easter Jr. when he was stopped in the second round. And then in 2014, he went 0-3 as he lost to Miguel Gonzalez, Fedor Papazov, and Denis Shafikov.
Those are all quality fighters, especially Shafikov. He's a top-rated lightweight. Going to be fighting for a world title soon here. And Mendoza went the 8-round distance with him.
Mercito Gesta, the southpaw, now living and training in San Diego, was born in Cebu City, the Philippines.
No amateur boxing background for Gesta. Did some kickboxing, I believe.
Yeah, he was a kickboxer.
Also one of these Filipino fighters, like a lot of Mexican fighters, turned pro at age 16. Very young age. Actually turned pro around the flyweight weight limit and has naturally grown into the lightweight / junior welterweight divisions.
Yeah, Gesta started as a pro in 2003, weighing 111 pounds. And for this fight, a little bit heavier. 136 he came in. 134, correct.
From a boy to a man.
This was scheduled for 10 rounds in the lightweight division. Bethel Duran, Doug Fisher, and Steve Kim. And Steve, Gesta's a guy that you've seen before, right?
You know, it was funny. About 4 years ago, I walk into the wild card, and I see this young Filipino, this southpaw, and at that point, he was with Vincent Parr. I remember Freddie Roach telling me, he goes, Steve, have you seen this kid Gesta? Because I think he's pretty good. And for about a period of about a year and a half, 2 years, he was a regular combatant there in some gym fights against Amir Khan. There came a point in time, he was actually a pretty highly touted prospect. He actually signed with Top Rank, who was hoping to bookend him with Manny Pacquiao. That didn't work out. That relationship ended after that loss to Miguel Vasquez. And I remember watching that broadcast with you guys with Carlos Molina, and it was frustrating because it encapsulated some of his shortcomings and some of his strengths. When Gesta was active and leading, I thought at points he was dominating the fight, but at times when he was inactive, putting his punches on layaway, he let the play be taken from him by Molina, and therefore he had to settle for a draw.
Yeah, I thought Gesta did enough to win that fight, but he got off to a slow start. And Molina, to his credit, started very fast, came out aggressive. And
good uppercut.
Yes, excellent uppercut.
That'll do it for round one.
Gesta's got power.
Yeah.
And that was what was frustrating about it, is that Gesta was sort of put into a shell for the early rounds.
Let's see the strategy session with Mercito Gesta.
You know what? We just started him yesterday, and I think I got it. All I need to do is, make sure to avoid those hard punches because this guy can swing hard. And based on his knockout, on his fight, he is like almost 100% of knockout. But he has some loss too. But I I think we got it. We kind of adjust a little bit yesterday. What do I need to do and see and try to know what's his weak spot. So that's all I need to do, and just make sure it's really be careful in that swing.
You see Hesta, a lot of family surrounding him. She's checking him out on ringtvlive.com. Second round scheduled for 10. Hesta is the southpaw in the white trunks. Miguel Angel Mendoza from Aguascalientes in the blue.
We should mention that Mendoza is a late substitute. Hesta was originally scheduled to fight Martin Honorio, who I believe had some visa problems getting into the States. So in steps Mendoza, but for most of his camp, Hesta was preparing for an Honorio, which was going to, I think, would have been a stern test.
Martin Honorio is about as big and sturdy, a 35-pounder, and he gives everybody tough rounds, if not defeat them. And, you know, this guy's pretty game, though. The one thing I want to see out of Hesta is just a certain consistency with his hands. When he lets his hands go and he's active, he's a very effective fighter. There came a stretch, and it was very puzzling, where he simply would not let his hands fly.
He gets off in spots. He's not somebody who's punching consistently for 3 minutes of a round. Thus, he can be outworked by busy fighters.
Hesta, after the Molina fight, changed gyms again. He was down at the House of Boxing, then he was at a different gym for this one. He found a different gym with a different strength and conditioning coach, he said, which really helped him with his power. He went back to the old school, flipping tires, chopping, bringing the sledgehammer down, and just doing everything he can. He said he feels a lot stronger, and he had no trouble making the weight for this bout. Halfway through the second round, we're scheduled for 10 in the lightweight division. Mercito, No Mercy, Gesta.
Gesta moves around the ring pretty good. I've always liked his balance. He can be a decent counterpuncher. He's got a lot of athleticism, a lot of natural ability. It's just that offensive consistency that he's lacking.
And Doug, it is a mentality. There's no doubt about it that the way you fight is based not only on your physical tools, but your temperament. Because we go back to Manny Pacquiao. Manny Pacquiao at his best from very, very early stage of his career was an attacker.
Right. He was an impetuous person, and at that time, he used to live kind of wild. He trained hard, but he also partied hard, liked to gamble, and then, he took that mentality in the ring. He would take risks, offensively when he was in the ring. Gesta is a real cool cat, real laid-back guy.
I would say he's almost over-calculating at times. He's got the advantage here in hand speed, technical precision, but you see him picking and probing.
And down goes Gesta.
Oh, they're calling that a knockdown.
I thought it was a trip. I thought Mendoza stepped on his foot.
It looked like it, but the referee right there is going to knock it down.
I don't think it was a legit knockdown.
Gesta with that smirk of, no, I don't think so. That might have been one of those normal southpaw feet tangle up. Final seconds of the second round. Gesta gets tagged with one there. And let's look at the replay of what was ruled a knockdown.
Yeah, this is a very iffy knockdown in my opinion. So there's a right hand landed. Now there's a left behind. He tripped over the guy's foot. But there was a left that landed behind the head. Not a legal punch, by the way.
It was ruled a knockdown for the Mexican fighter Miguel Angel Mendoza. Third round underway. Bethel Duran, Steve Kim, and Doug Fisher from the StubHub Center in Carson, California. This is our fourth fight of the card on ringtvlive.com. Still have one more coming your way, and young 19-year-old prospect Nick Arce, who's 4-0 out of Los Angeles. But right now, Mercito Gesta, the southpaw in white, is taking on Miguel Angel Mendoza in blue.
One thing I don't like about Gesta's hand placement is he doesn't keep his hands up, Steve.
Yeah, it's interesting. You can get away with that if you can control distance. Now, I was taught that basically keep your hands up the closer your opponent is. It's interesting about Gesta. You figure coming off of a knockdown, I'm not so sure you necessarily rule that round 10-8. If there'd be any real sense of urgency in round number 3, and quite frankly, Doug, there really hasn't been.
No, there isn't.
You hear that smirk when he went back with his dad, his trainer.
But he's got to be careful when he's in close, not only because of Mendoza's punches, but he's got to watch out for that lead foot if he's going to be circling around.
Gesta, 27 years old. Mendoza's 31.
See, Gesta does not lead. He waits for Mendoza, and then he counterpunches. And he's able to get there first. He is faster. He does have the cleaner technique. But why not take the initiative?
Part of this game is not just winning, it's how you win. And the popularity of a guy like Manny Pacquiao wasn't just based on his victories, but it was the manner in which he did them. This is the entertainment business, and Mercito Gesta has an impressive-looking record of 21-8-2. But quite frankly, in the last couple of years, more than not, you come away from his fights not all that entertained.
I thought the fight with Carlos Molina was entertaining.
Right.
But Molina was the guy
But
taking
Molina
the
was
fight
bringing
to him.
it,
Right.
So Molina was a desperate fighter at that time.
Right.
And Beto, that speaks to another point, that perhaps Mercito Gesta needs to be in with guys that are consistently going to pitch fastballs right down the plate.
Yeah, Molina came out in the opening round just trying to rip his head off.
Gangbusters. And I like that. And Gesta answered him.
yeah.
He did in the middle rounds and was in control, but then he took his foot off the gas pedal in the late rounds, and it was really just it depended on what the judges favored. If they liked ring generalship, then they liked Gesta. If they liked aggression, then they liked Molina. So he really couldn't complain about that draw.
Going back to that particular night on April 30th, I felt as though Gesta was the better fighter, and he allowed that fight to be a draw.
Right.
It's a great point right there. Allowed it to be a draw because Molina at times was just like, hey, come on, let's go. Let's make this up.
I'll tell you what,
the final
guys.
seconds of the third round, and Mendoza is starting to let his hands go.
This is a real fight on Gesta's hands here. He better not allow this guy to steal some early rounds.
You know what? I'm scoring round 3 for Mendoza.
Agreed.
And I had to give round 2 to Mendoza because of the knockdown, even though I don't think it was legit knockdown. Just not 10-8.
By Neil Macasavia for Mercito Gesta. We're in the fourth round, and Doug Fisher scored the last 2 for Gesta, as has Steve Kim. He scored him for Mendoza, the Mexican fighter in the blue trunks, as has Steve Kim. So Mercito Gesta bouncing around on his toes, a southpaw fighter. He was very reserved at the media workout, very calm. He's not one of those flamboyant fighters who's going to be tweeting everybody all hours of the day. But here he needs to pick up the pace against Miguel Angel Mendoza, a late substitute who took this fight on Thursday. Because on Wednesday when we talked to him, Gesta was talking about Martin Honorio. Come Thursday, because of visa issues, Honorio couldn't make it. Mendoza jumped on the plane, and here we go. Gesta in the white, lands a punch, moves around. Good right hand from Gesta.
Gesta can't stay against the ropes for
Hook
too
from
long.
Gesta. This is exactly what I would think Mendoza wants to do. Muck it up a little bit.
And I think he wants to entice Gesta to stand his ground. I think Gesta should engage in the center of the ring, but he should just move around Mendoza. And he should definitely be working a jab. I don't know why he's not flashing a southpaw
Has he even
jab.
thrown one?
No. Not that I've noticed. Seriously,
Yeah,
like the whole fight.
I'm
I'm not even
serious.
talking about this round.
Oh,
Like, okay, there we go.
two.
There we go.
He heard us, he throws 2.
But again, Doug, as you mentioned, Gesta seems to want to counterpunch, so most counterpunchers aren't going to necessarily lead their offense with the jab. And if he gets popped with the right hand, he's going to have to stick out a jab just defensively. But again, as you mentioned, he is a counterpuncher, so he's going to try to work off the movement of Mendoza.
Good right hand from Gesta, moves Mendoza back, and comes at with the right hand. That right hand is landing from Miguel Angel Mendoza.
And when Mendoza lands, you can tell it's landing with impact.
With power.
Yeah, it's getting, it's definitely got Gesta's respect, but it's getting the attention of the judges, I think. Meanwhile, Gesta's counterpunches, they're not taking a toll on Mendoza. They're not discouraging him.
Good left hook there by Mendoza. Guys, I got to tell you, 25 seconds to go here. I think this may be another round where Mendoza may have simply out-hustled Gesta with another right hand.
Good round between Gesta and Mendoza. And this one is all Mendoza late in the third round.
Gesta needs to get those hands up. Whenever Mendoza gets close, those hands need to be up.
Guys,
That'll do it.
there's a fight breaking out here. I hope Hesta realizes that.
Still got Nick Arce coming your way next. We're in the 5th round, scheduled for 10 in the lightweight division. Gesta came in weighing 134, as did Mendoza. Gesta in the white, the southpaw fighter from San Diego, who's 28-1 with 16 KOs. Good left from Gesta. Originally from Cebu City, the Philippines. That's where he was born, in a bad neighborhood. He said he doesn't go back home because it's not safe. And San Diego's nice and tranquil. I found himself a nice spot, nice gym to work out of. Goes through his regular routine. And he found Filipino food in San Diego. What more do you need? But right now he needs emergency.
Yeah. Seems like he has a very complacent life outside of the gym, in San Diego. But you don't want to be complacent when you're in that ring, especially when your opponent is swinging for the fences with every blow.
Beto,
Connecting.
Beto, you talked about his background in kickboxing and Muay Thai. The technique is different than boxing. A lot of kickboxers, and I've been told this by trainers, the way they kick will naturally put them on their heels. And that's an adjustment from boxing when you got to punch on the balls of your feet. And if you look at Mercito Gesta, he's much more comfortable reacting to a guy coming right at him where he can punch off of his heels rather than leading. And that's going to be always a problem for his mentality is always going to be as a counterpuncher. And you see what's going on here. He's the superior technician, but he's simply getting outworked for the most part.
Mendoza in the blue doing more of the work. And Gesta, it just seems like he's always going back.
Right, on his heels.
He's bouncing around, but going backwards.
What I don't like is that Gesta just hasn't hit him with anything to get his respect yet. I mean, Mendoza's got a impressive knockout
That was a body
ratio.
shot.
That might have hurt Mendoza. He needs to
Another
keep going
body
to the
shot.
body. I mean, he may have found something there.
Mendoza covering up that right side. Overhand right. But Gesta doesn't come back and follow it through.
He is trying to work
from
that
the
body.
Mexican. Another uppercut from the Mexican. 30 seconds to go in the 5th round. Mendoza swinging wild and missing.
Those guys that Mendoza has knocked down, those 21 knockouts, there's no world beaters in there. There's a lot of club fighters and journeymen. But obviously, he does generate some power with the way he throws, and Gesta knew about that. But I expected Gesta to do some damage to Mendoza by this point of the fight because Mendoza has been stopped more than a few times.
He's willing to get in there and mix it up. That'll do it for the round.
We have some action from the previous round. Some jostling on the inside. A cuffing right to Gesta's ear, landed by Mendoza. Gesta comes back with his own right, spins off the ropes.
Pedal.
Man.
And sometimes you just got to go around them and look them in your rearview mirror, and that's what Miguel Mendoza is trying to do. Coming to fight it for the first time in his career in California on a Golden Boy card.
For the most part, Doug, I think tonight has been perpetual cruise control from this Filipino.
Yeah. Will they have that term Filipino time? You always late? Well, you better pick it up. Mercito Gesta is the southpaw. You see the sun beating down on the top of the ring. It's 80 degrees in Carson, California. StubHub Center on the campus of Cal State Dominguez Hills. 4th fight of the night on the card that's leading up to Matisse and Postal. Body work. Going for that home run is Mendoza with that uppercut.
I'm impressed with Mendoza's effort.
2 days notice?
2 days notice, and he's in with a guy who's considered sort of a fringe contender. Guy who's been on TV a lot. Guy who has fought for a world title, and he doesn't seem intimidated at all.
And Aguascalientes is in the central of Mexico. It's not the easiest of flights to get to Los Angeles.
There's a certain tenacity that he has that Gesta lacks. And you see what he's doing this particular night. He's trying to crowd him, go shoulder to shoulder, and then wing shots over the top just like that right hand.
Tenacity, good word, Steve Kim. That's exactly what Mendoza's bringing right now. He's going for the haymaker. I don't blame him right now. You have a fighter who's really not doing much with you. He gets tagged with the right.
Yeah, it was a nice 1-2 combination from Gesta.
Another right from Gesta.
Yeah, Mendoza kind of leaped right into that one.
Mendoza's getting sloppy here with those looping punches. He's trying to go upstairs and break that guard. As referee tells Gesta to keep the hands up. Another swing and a miss from Mendoza.
You know, Gesta in the last round and in this round has landed more quality punches. He's gone downstairs, and I think that saps some of the strength from Mendoza. But also, when you swing and miss the way Mendoza is swinging and missing, that's going to take a lot of energy.
So Miguel Angel Mendoza took this fight on 2 days' notice. Found a trainer, but he had to find a corner. Had no cut man, had no second. So the people in his corner right now were fighters who were corners who had worked an earlier fight. Just a typical journeyman attitude where it's, I'm going to pay for one guy, but I'm not traveling people with me.
Right, and that's a common story. It's not uncommon from a guy who took a fight on a day or two's notice to travel by himself and just pick up a corner at the weigh-in.
And
so,
one of the guys
make a
he
few
picked
bucks?
up is Ponce de Leon, who
throws a lot of punches, so he was prepared for that. So I have to imagine Gesta's going to have more in his gas tank than Mendoza, who took this fight on a few days' notice.
Gesta in the white is a southpaw. Miguel Angel Mendoza. Last fight was in June. Just seems like Mendoza is the more aggressive fighter, like the one one bringing it.
Well, he is. I think that's very obvious. And it's the one thing about Gesta, again, that's very maddening to a lot of observers, is the fact that you think there should be more. But, 30 fights into this career, you kind of are what you are at this stage.
That's true.
Danny Green right there, you are. Well, we thought they are. And Steve, you said Gesta, his last few fights to the fight fans have been pedestrian?
Yeah, let's just put it this way. He went from being the next Manny Pacquiao to definitely not Manny Pacquiao. And
anti-Manny.
Well, there's no sense of urgency here. I think he's doing a pretty nice job of boxing this round. But coming off a sixth round where I thought they're starting to see some signs of wear and tear on Mendoza, again, you see him being very, very relaxed, and they're almost to a point of just being desultory, like he's doing enough, but you want to see much more.
Doing just enough. Our Mariachi heroes out there watching it, appreciate it. He tweets us a picture of his adult beverages he's happen. All right, good to see that. Carlos Molina is watching this one. He agrees. He likes to see aggression in a fight. How you doing,
He
Carlos?
showed it. Now, he showed it in his last fight.
I think Carlos might want a rematch.
Oh, yeah.
Definitely does.
Yeah.
Carlos thought he won. And that's a fight, we want to keep going back and forth with it, but that's the last time we saw Gesta, to see somebody having Gesta losing it. I see a draw.
Yeah. No, anyone who thought Carlos Molina won that fight, I would not argue with them. I had it for Gesta by a round or two, but it easily could have swung the other way. I actually was fine with the draw, to be quite honest. There's that power, and this is what the reason hardcore fans get frustrated with Gesta, with the way he fights and his in-the-ring temperament, is because there is speed and there is power. So it's like, why not let those hands go?
But it's all in flashes.
Yes.
There's no real consistency. You'll see it in like short bursts.
Yeah, spots.
But nothing that's consistent. And you just wonder, part of being a professional boxer that makes a lot of money and gets opportunities is the way you win, is being exciting. And quite frankly, there's too many times where Mercito Gesta gets his hands raised in victory, and you say to yourself, I don't really know when he's going to fight again, and quite frankly, I may not care.
May not care.
Harsh, Kim.
That's what I do.
No, there's some fans at StubHub right now who are walking up the stairs because they might not care, and they're the ones that in the sun. Those are the hardcore ones. As the seventh round comes to a close, between Mercito Gesta and Miguel Angel Mendoza.
Right, this
He
is the
feels
way,
like he's in control.
This is the way he fights. Customato had a great saying: "Square pegs do not die round."
Square pegs
Do not die round.
Steve Kim, the boxing historian, Dougie Fisher, right there with them. Make sure you check out all their work, Steve, at boxingscene.com and ucnlive.com. You can see videos on all those sites, and ringtv.com for Doug Fisher. Dougie's mailbag Fridays and Sundays. He does read every single email you send him, including the ones that praise him, which are few and far between, Doug.
Oh,
I'm going to start emailing you. I'm going to start emailing you saying how awesome
Somebody
you are.
give me some love. Yeah.
Right? Right? You're a nice guy. Been around the boxing scene a long time. 8th round between Mercito Gesta and Miguel Angel Mendoza. This is all leading up to the main event with Lucas Matisse and Victor Postol. So international card. We got the Philippines here. Earlier we saw Argentina's Nino Lopez with the win. Demetrius Ballard from Washington, D.C. got a 6-round decision, and Alejandro Ochoa got the card going with an upset of undefeated Kevin Rivers, giving him his first loss, and he won that one easily. Hit Alejandro Ochoa, the fighter from Bell Gardens.
Gesta's doing a better job of evading the haymakers from Mendoza and also blocking and countering those haymakers.
Doug, what's frustrating, though, if you look at what Gesta's trying to do, we know he's a counterpuncher. In Mendoza, he's facing a fighter that has a really wide looping arc to his punches. As a counterpuncher, that's like a hanging curveball.
That's true.
Every time he throws one of those wide hooks or those uppercuts from 10 feet outside, you want him to come shoot right up the middle. Mendoza's giving a counterpuncher in Gesta a lot of opportunities to actually look pretty good, and quite frankly, he's squandering a lot of those.
Less than a minute to go in the 8th round. Good uppercut from Gesta.
Overhand right
That
there by
landed.
Mendoza.
And Mendoza answered it with that overhand right. Gesta's bringing it, but Mendoza's not feeling any of it.
Another overhand right.
When you start throwing it wild, that right hand is landing him on the chin of Mercito Gesta.
And when it lands, Gesta straightens up and he backs up and he smiles. But what he should be doing is hitting him with 2 or 3.
Stop smiling in the 8th round. Now I'm starting to see what you're talking about, Steve, that frustration with fans where you see the flashes of, okay, he's nice. And then...
And here's the thing. I thought Gesta was in control for the first 2 minutes of this round, and he may have given away by eating those. And there's another one. That's the third flush, and that's the 4th flush overhand right landed by Mendoza. And it's eye-catching. It gets a rise out of the crowd, and the judges take note of that.
Appreciate it. Bethel Duran, Doug Fisher, and Steve Kim. And this is all leading up to the HBO Boxing After Dark doubleheader with Antonio Orozco and Humberto Soto, followed by Lucas the Machine Matisse and Victor the Iceman Postol. But right now, Mercito Gesta needs to pick it up. He's in the 9th round. He's 28-1-2 in his career. He's the southpaw with the red gloves. And Miguel Angel Mendoza, the journeyman from Aguascalientes, Mexico, took the fight on 2 days' notice, landed the bigger shots here, and he comes out with the left.
And kudos to Mendoza for the effort he's given us tonight.
You guys mentioned earlier that StubHub magic. If you're a dog, I guess you can always say you're a live dog if you're at StubHub,
That's right.
But I think Mercito Gesta's style is given to, he's not going to leave himself a large margin of error, because he has to be very precise. When you are so judicious and you're so careful in your punch output, it really does become a question, especially in this fight with Mendoza, quality versus quantity. What are the judges looking at here?
We've seen some questionable judging in the earlier fights.
That's
and
true.
what should have been easy, at least for us 3 up here, and the people scoring at home.
You know, some judges like to see a guy move around a lot. They equate that with boxing, even if the mobile fighter, the mobile, elusive fighter, isn't landing a lot of shots. Other judges, they love aggression. They love big punches. And other judges, they like accuracy. The punches don't necessarily have to be hard, but if they're crisp and clean and they're landing, that fighter racks up points with them.
Well, there is that old cliche, hit and not be hit, but at a certain point in professional boxing, there is an emphasis on hitting.
Yes. And this is professional boxing, so the heavier punches, they count more than lighter punches. And the thing about it is, Gesta is landing punches, but he's also getting tagged. And when he gets tagged, it's real dramatic.
Yeah.
You know, his hands are down and his head is knocked to either side. And he straightens up and makes a face.
And you hear the crowd with the
yeah.
Yeah.
It's like he
45 seconds ago in
he
the ninth
pauses
round.
to hear the crowd, and then he gets on his move again.
That was a good left hand there by Gesta, though. I think that shook Mendoza just for a second.
But he keeps on coming. Another left from Gesta. That's a good one. Uppercut from Gesta. Trying to land that Gesta. Mendoza said brings it, and he gets tagged with one.
You know, Gesta, the way he's loading up with those uppercuts, it's lackadaisical in my eyes.
It's just one punch at a time.
Yeah, but his hands are just down by his side, and I need to see more focus from Gesta.
10 seconds
want
to
more
go
intensity.
in the ninth round. A right hand, other hand, overhand right.
And here we are on the microphone.
Miguel Mendoza's landed an overhand right all afternoon. And we're going to go to the 10th round.
Very warm here at ringside. Hello again,
I
everybody.
scored that last one for Gesta.
Yeah, so did I.
Okay. I need to see intensity.
From Gesta?
Yes. I've seen intensity from Mendoza. That's why I have him ahead in this fight. And Steve, I don't argue with your scorecard. There have been a couple rounds that could have gone either way.
And you guys are scoring while you're also talking and commentating.
That's true. Sometimes you watch a fight again after watching it live but commentating, and you can see a slightly different fight.
And you're trying to figure out, is Gesta ever going to do something in this round?
Having said that, my scorecards are always better than Fritz Warner's. I just want you to know that. Always
Wow.
See, I can be harsh, too.
Views and opinions of Doug Fisher versus Fritz Warner are viewed by a lot of people.
Doug was a big Dalby Shirley fan back in the day.
Wow.
Surely you can't be serious.
But he was.
I was waiting for you to come with that, Shirley. There you go.
That was a
Even
nice
hanging
setup,
out
Steve.
there. Yeah. Mercito Gesta is a southpaw from San Diego, born in Cebu City, Philippines. And Miguel Angel Mendoza just keeps on coming.
I'll tell you what, I want to see Mendoza again. Win, lose, or draw. He looks like the kind of guy who can test younger fighters, up and coming prospects. Like to see him in there with a Zachary Ochoa,
Zachary Ochoa, who won on Friday night, the Boricua boxer from New Jersey, improved to 12-0. He's actually in attendance, sitting ringside watching this fight.
And Doug, actually, Mendoza had been playing that role as the gatekeeper, taking on guys like Robert Easter and Shafikov and Fedor Papazov, as Beto mentioned earlier in the broadcast. And quite frankly, those guys handled him much easier than Gesta has.
After this fight, it'll be Nick Arce, who sold over 500 tickets alone for the StubHub Center. He takes on Tijuana's Juan Hernandez. Arce 4-0, Hernandez 3-0. Then it'll be Julian Ramirez, the East LA, who's 14-0 against tough Mexican Hugo Partida. And Ramirez is the nephew of the late, great Gennaro Chicanito Hernandez. 40 seconds to go in the fight between Mercito Gesta and Miguel Angel Mendoza. Thanks for watching us on ringtvlive.com with 30 seconds to go. And Steve, I'm pretty sure you want a fight to be done with.
No, I found this interesting because I thought Gesta, in the prior fights, even leading into Molina, had kind of evolved. And it started to get it a little bit. He had moved his hands a little bit better than he had in the past. I thought the Molina fight was actually pretty entertaining. I think win, lose, or draw tonight, Doug. I think it's fair to say today was a bit of a backward step.
And that'll do it. They go the distance. Mercito Gesta, Miguel Mendoza, they go the distance. Mendoza walking around with his hand up, and the crowd's cheering for him.
Fighters, after 10 rounds of action, what a match you have just witnessed. And after 10 rounds, we go to the judges' scorecard. Fernando Villarreal sees the fight 97-92. Judge Pat Russell scores the fight 96-93. And Judge Fritz Werner scores the fight 97-92. And your winner by unanimous decision, Mercito Gesta.
So much for aggression in boxing, right?
Crowd doesn't like it.
Well, if the crowd was the judge,
Right.
Mendoza would be the winner.
That's right.
The only people cheering right now are waving the Filipino flag and are related to Mercito
There you
Gesta.
go. They have red hats on.
97-92 twice, 96-93. And that was also with a knockdown that was ruled the knockdown in the second round. Mercito Gesta improves to 29-1 with 2 draws in his career and still getting booed.
Looks like
The two fighters are going to be leaving the ring. Or Dominic.
Dominic Verdeen, our roving Ring TV reporter, is going to get a post-fight interview. See if we can pick up the audio.
Miguel Mendoza, ladies and gentlemen.
The